Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Jorvik.
Hello.
Good morning. Good afternoon again. I keep forgetting. And Steve is here.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon to you too.
Thank you.
And our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. And this morning's show is made possible by Telestream Wirecast software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear.
Did you not put your teeth in this morning?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
Let me apologize ahead of time that if you hear a panting or a puffing going on, it's my dog. We've just come back from the park and she's panting like hell.
So how's the weather there these days? I mean, today.
We got thunderstorms coming any time now, but it's been quite a nice morning, and the last couple of days have been nice.
Nice.
Yeah, same here. It's pretty good.
Did she get into any trouble, Steve?
What, the dog?
Yeah.
No, she ran off to go and say hello to somebody, and I called her back, and she came back, surprisingly. She was a very, very good girl.
Nice.
But I would expect nothing less.
Very, very nice.
Did Nick get off okay last week?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm trying to adjust the...
Trying to adjust the
picture.
Ah.
Having a little problem with it.
Some difficulties.
It's okay. It's fine. Let's see. What did you guys have anything to open with, or shall I pick up a subject?
Nothing here.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
All right. So, those of you that have drones, and I know that Steve Haywood has one. I know that Garrett has one of these, and I don't know which one Mike has, but a top drone manufacturer has warned that customers' expensive gadgets will be crippled if they don't register their details on its website. DJI drones, which cost between $1,200 and $3,000, won't be able to fly to their full potential or beam back footage if their owners don't sign up next week, they warned. Those who splashed out for the snazzy gadgets will find they are limited to a teensy 50-meter radius, and it won't be flying higher than 30 meters if they don't play ball. So DJI will soon introduce a new application activation process for international customers, and this new step to take effect at the end of next week ensures you will use the correct set of geospatial information and flight functions for your aircraft, as determined by your geographical location. So this is going to affect the DJI Go or Go 4 app. I know that some people are using this actually for commercial purposes. I know Garrett uses it to take pictures for farmers, show them their land. Steve is doing it for another show that he's doing, the No Boundaries Outdoor. It is just I don't know what they want from the people. I guess they want information who has it and where they are. But it's funny that a week or two or so ago, the government decided, okay, you don't need to register it anymore with the FAA.
It seems a backward track. The FAA turn around and say, no, you don't need to register them. Now this company is saying this.
Yep.
You'd understand it if the company said, or if the government said, you need to register, blah, blah, you have to do all this and put restrictions on it.
Right.
But no problem. Spend $1,300 and above, and we'll limit what you can do. Thanks ever so much.
Right. That's really that's not right. I mean,
No.
okay, if I buy a gadget and I don't register it, then the worst that would happen is I may lose on some of the warranty.
Yeah.
But it happened before that, and you know, most of us don't register. I don't. I know I don't. And
if you bought one already, and now from now on, anyone that buys a new one, and as long as it's clearly labeled on the box, as such, then fine. But for people that have already got it to now turn around and say you haven't got the facilities you thought you had, well, that's just terrible.
It is. It's not right.
It's like Sony taking away the Linux option on their PlayStations.
And something else they have to do with drones. This is an article that says that the Trump administration wants federal agencies to be able to track, hack, or even destroy drones that pose a threat to law enforcement and public safety operations, the New York Times reports. A proposed law, if passed by Congress, would let the government take down unmanned aircraft posing a danger to firefighting and search and rescue missions, prison operations, or unauthorized protection of a person. The government will be required to respect privacy, civil rights, and civil liberties when exercising that power, the draft bill says. But records of anti-drone actions would be exempt from public disclosure under Freedom of Information laws, and people's right to sue over damaged and seized drones would be limited, according to the text of the proposal published by the Times. The administration, which would not comment on the proposal, scheduled a classified briefing on Wednesday for congressional staff members to discuss the issue. Now, I can look at it from both sides. You were fighting when I was reading about that that they will not have to disclose that we will not have to have public disclosure of Freedom of Information law.
Freedom of information, yeah.
Now,
well, if your drone gets blown out of the sky, of course you're going to ask why, what happened, and where, and who, and why. They're just going to say no comment.
I would hope that, I mean, I can see why they want it, and I'm all for it. If you see what ISIS is doing with drones in Iraq, you don't want that to happen here. I mean, they are loading commercial drones that they buy online with explosives, and they fly them across the line to the Iraqi forces and blow them up. I mean, it's a perfect guided missile. Now, you can do the same thing with we all seen videos of a drone that has a pistol strapped in it, duct tape in it, or whatever, and you get to a certain place and you shoot the pistol. So things like that I think law enforcement, to protect the public, should be able to blow them out of the sky. And I don't think they owe any explanation to the person that's doing it. Now, if you, and again, I'm no expert on this about the law. Of course, if you're flying it and you're taking it toward the White House, or even toward a building that is a public building that you have no business going towards, they should be able to do the same thing. You don't want to wait until something happens before taking it out. So it's kind of touchy, but in order to protect us, they need to have these tools in their hands. If there's a fire somewhere and somebody's flying a drone around, it's one of two things. Either they want to get footage to send to the local TV station to get their 15 minutes of fame, or the person that caused the fire wants to see what's going on. But just out of curiosity, I would hope that people that do own these things would know when is it appropriate to fly it and when it is not appropriate to fly it.
That would take common sense.
Yeah, you have to exercise common sense. Absolutely, Steve. You're right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the vast majority of people don't have common sense these days.
Only because they can do it and not have to worry about consequences. But if there are consequences, I think more people will exercise common sense.
I think your comment of appropriate is definitely a good thing, yeah. But unfortunately, you've got the people there that think, "Oh, I just must get this because, like you say, they can sell it to news agencies." So, unfortunately, common sense gets outweighed in that case.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, if there's a fire and a TV station wants to have footage of it, they've got helicopters. Go out and do it yourself. Your press, you have the permission to do things like that because that's why you have the aircraft. Don't reward people who are breaking the law by paying them for that footage. But I mean, we'll still have to wait and see if it actually passes. And John, as far as the you have to register or we won't fly. Yeah, that's just for DJI drones. And they are pretty popular from what I hear.
Expensive but popular.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that nice to have an expensive and be popular?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see what else. I keep us a little bit up to date. What's happening over there now after all that mess in Manchester?
Mike will be more aware of what's been going on.
Mike, you with us?
Yeah, it was the Chrome crash. I'm back again.
Oh. Can you keep us sort of like up to date about what's going on in the aftermath of Manchester?
Yeah, it's we're out of the critical stage now. We've gone back to severe. The emergency state that the country was in went to the top state just after which means that they can put militia, they can put the army actually on the streets. But over the past couple of days, they've actually found what they think is the centre of the network. They cordoned off an area of Manchester, evacuated everybody, and did a load of raids. And evidently they think they've got everybody that's mainly concerned. It's 11 people, basically, being held by the police that are directly or indirectly involved with this. So a lot's been going to actually find the people. But now, of course, it's all the political stuff, because we've got an election coming up.
Mm-hmm.
The parties chose not to stop their election campaigning for a couple of days after, out of respect. But it's all kicking off now, and of course the main subject in their agendas are the protection of the UK and what they're going to do and what they're not going to do and all this sort of thing. So it's got very political at the moment. But it was bad. 22 people died. As you know, there's a lot of teenagers in it. And there's all sorts of stories coming out. One of them was he was on their radar, but I think it's a lot more complicated. You know, it's not just a case they knew about him. It's what they're allowed to do when they find these people.
I can just imagine if somebody from law enforcement had him on the radar and had to wait for something more substantial before they do something about it, and this happened, I would hate to be in his place now.
Yeah, there's almost certainly going to be more legislation coming. There's going to be no laws. One of the things they were suggesting, that people that have proven connections, and I think they can prove connections to these things, whether or not they're going to do anything is another thing.
Yeah.
To actually tag them, put a curfew on them, tag them, and so they can actually monitor their whereabouts. That's the sort of thing that might come in. But it's a toss-up between civil rights and anti-terrorism laws. It's a tussle between the two.
Yeah. Wednesday night, last Wednesday, was the Vietnam show. And the subject of the show was the draft here in the United States from beginning till today, and the flag, how to use it, what to do, what not to do. And at the end of his presentation, Bill had a picture of Ariana Grande, and he says they tell me that this is free speech, and it was a picture of her flipping a finger and wiping her butt with the American flag. And I said, wow. So the next day, I went and I didn't see it anywhere else. Nobody else was talking about it, so I went to check on it, and turned out that it's false. Somebody else did it some time ago, and somebody doctored that picture to look like it. So I went ahead and I redid the video and took that out of there. But it was, I mean, I was getting kind of pissed seeing a little young girl like that doing stuff like that, and I said, she doesn't know what she's doing. Somebody made her do this, but it was actually somebody else that did know what they were doing.
Good old fake news.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, that was kind of bad. I sure hope that they are not going to that the British public is not going to give in to these guys. But it's
the opposite.
It's easy. Go ahead.
It's the opposite. It just makes us pull even closer together. They were saying how fast the response was. Literally within minutes of the bomb going off, emergency services, 60 ambulances arrived. In quite a short time, and people sort of opened their doors and took in people. Hotels took in people that couldn't get home, not charging them. Taxis were ferrying people around Manchester to 5 o'clock in the morning free of charge.
Yeah.
It brings out the good in people when something like this happens.
It brings a lot of good in people. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Switching. NAND flash memory chips, the building blocks of solid-state drives, SSDs, include what could be called programming vulnerabilities that can be exploited to alter stored data or shorten the SSD's lifespan. According to research published earlier this year, the programming logic powering of MLC NAND flash memory chips, the technology used for the latest generation of SSDs, is vulnerable to at least 2 types of attacks. The first is called program interference and takes place when an attacker manages to write data with a certain pattern to a target SSD. Writing this data repeatedly and at high speed causes errors in the SSD, which then corrupts data stored on nearby cells. The attack is similar to the infamous Rowhammer attack on RAM chips, and I don't remember that Rowhammer. The second attack is called read disturb. And in this scenario, an attacker exploit code causes the SSD to perform a large number of read operations in a very short time, which causes a phenomenon of read disturb errors that alters the SSD ability to read data from nearby cells even long after the attack stops. So if you had an SSD that's starting acting up, or you lost data, or, I mean, these are some things to look at. I mean, there's nothing here that says what can you do about this. Again, the only thing you can do about your data is back it up. But apparently, there are vulnerabilities built into these drives. And I know people that use SSD altogether, not even have a spinning drive on their machine.
I'm exclusively SSD now, apart from backing up to a spinning disk.
It's scary to think that there's something like this that could screw up all your data. And I don't know that there's, I was trying to find information if manufacturers are doing anything about it, and nothing.
Well, it also begs the question, how do you get into that software from the outside in the first place?
Yeah, that is...
You probably find that the chances of getting through to do any damage in there is sort of massively stacked against a person. It's difficult. But vulnerability seems to be a key thing at the moment. There's a crusade as everybody looks upon it. They've even found vulnerabilities in heart pacemakers. There was an article in our press a few days back saying that pacemakers are vulnerable.
Yeah.
So, I think you can look at anything that's got a code or firmware in it. You'll find vulnerabilities. But whether or not they can be exploited is another thing. This is where scaremongering comes in, isn't it?
And whether or not the manufacturers are doing something to alleviate it. if the manufacturers ignore it, sorry, Steve, go ahead.
The manufacturers are probably building in back doors, like there are in most computer programs. There's a back door or a method that the coder can get into if they need to. If the thing locks up or whatever, they've got a back door to get into it. Who's to say that the manufacturers haven't done this on purpose? Not because they wanted people to hack it, but so that they can access it should the need arise.
It's not that you can get a software update for an SSD, is it?
Yeah.
No, firmware update, and that's it.
If the need arises, that's a very gray area, isn't it?
Yeah, the need arises, and who needs the need? That's the thing. We're talking in this country now after the Manchester events of the government wanting to ban encryption because they're saying end-to-end encryption is being used by terrorists, and they're looking at and having discussions about banning encryption. Well, they're not in the position to be informed enough to be making those kind of decisions. They need to get people on board that actually know about the technology, know about encryption completely, and then talk to them about it before they start blurting out this stupid thing about, oh, we need to ban encryption. Bunch of morons. How are you going to connect to your bank if you haven't got encryption?
Yeah, no, it was more the built-in encryption like WhatsApp has, the services, the public services, messaging services that have inbuilt encryption. What they want is to be able to get through that. That's what they're asking. It's not end-to-end, not normal end-to-end. Again, it's all been misquoted.
But they want backdoor access so that they can get access to whatever people are talking about, which is fine. But then that makes a vulnerability that the hackers can get into. So where do you draw the line? People are intent on hacking anything they can possibly get into. And if they create a backdoor, there you go. There's a door for you.
I think these backdoors are known about by the authorities. At any rate, they know about all these backdoors.
What motivations do you see, Jorvik?
So,
I mean,
sorry,
why would that? Why would it happen that somebody would say, "Yeah, we need to have that"?
It's for intelligence, covert observation and all this sort of thing that in this country, if there's reasonable, sort of indicators to do it, they do it. It's allowed. You are allowed to monitor people. And it's so the authorities can monitor. Nothing will block them. That's all it's about.
Yeah, true.
We want to be safe. And in order to be safe, the security services have to do certain things. And a lot of those, a lot of people would say would be against civil rights. But, you put it all on the balancing scales. What do you want? Do you want to be safe or do you want total civil liberty?
And
it's not black and white, is it?
No, it's not. And
there's no medium ground, unfortunately. It's you either get it or you don't. There's no sort of happy medium that everyone's going to be okay with.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, the happy medium is when the public realizes, yes, we need to be safe, so we need to allow them to do that. And, I mean, like, and again, I'm going back 50 years to Israel. And over there, I mean, you didn't worry about your civil rights because you had them anyway, but the government or the security forces could do things in order to protect you that today we may not agree to. I mean, you couldn't walk into a movie theater without somebody at the gate going through your pocketbook if you're a woman. I mean, you had to open it. They can stick their hand in there. They can move stuff around to see what's in there. But if you want to make sure that nobody comes in and blows up a bomb, then you have to stop it at the door.
Exactly.
So you have to, like you were saying, you have to weigh these things, and the only reason that it's not a happy medium is because there are a lot of people there that are not thinking about security. They're thinking about the politically correct stuff. And unfortunately, it takes until one of these people gets hurt or somebody close to them get hurt to say, oh, why didn't they do that? Oh, well. So, like, with the computers, with the laptops, with phones that you take on the plane, there's a reason they want you to turn it on. They want to make sure that is not, that it has not been gutted and filled with C4. So it's don't get mad when people are asking you, or security guards are asking you for something that, when you think about it later on, you say, yeah, well, what's the big deal? So I'm giving a little bit in order to be safe and that we are all safe.
We've had stop and search in most of our gatherings, where lots of people go in sports events and things like this. There's been stop and search for some time, probably since we were in our security state went severe. So it's a done thing. It's a done thing here, and of course, you expect it in an airport,
right?
Or any sort of ferry terminal. So it's just something I think we're going to see a lot more of.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm if tomorrow you see somebody is walking down the street and holding a pressure cooker and is being taken down, or held by police or stopped, if there was something in it, everything is great. Oh, thank you. But if they just came out of the supermarket and bought it and are taking it home without a bag, then what's wrong with you guys? It's just a pressure cooker. Well,
but
you better.
There has to be a line, isn't there? There has to be a line where reasonable sort of actions are taken, because let's face it, some of the recent acts have been a vehicle's been used to actually kill people. Well, you can't ban vehicles from roads. Who's to know that the next car coming down the street isn't going to go on the pavement and run people down? You don't know. So there has to be a certain amount of trust.
And I really don't think that law enforcement has the time or the resources to just stop people just for the fun of it.
No.
Charles is saying something in the chat, and I'm not into finding out things about something about Chrome and improved use of other bookmarks folder. Now it stays put if you move the cursor off the list. Bookmarks more like the Firefox.
Well, like all software, it's always being constantly modified, isn't it? And new whistles and bells put in. That's what makes it all fail. They keep changing it so many times. Every time they change it, there's a new vulnerability.
Yep.
Something new to learn every day.
There was a story about an ex-executive at Firefox saying that actually Chrome won the war of browsers. It's kind of hard to fight Google, isn't it? They make the software is good and they have the ability to get it out there. Not that Microsoft could not.
They got a lot of money and resources and people working on new things all the time, and they're not afraid to drop something that isn't going very well.
Right. Yep.
There always has to be something in it. If there's something in it, they'll continue. If there's nothing in it, they'll drop it. In other words, is there a profit in it?
Now, we're talking about vulnerabilities and software and hardware and all that. Here's another scary one. Windows 7 and 8.1 and also Vista have a bug that is reminiscent of Windows 98 age, when a certain specially crafted file name could make the operating system crash. And the author is talking about C:/con/con. Again, I don't remember that. From an Ars Technica report, it says that the new bug, which fortunately doesn't appear to afflict Windows 10, uses another special file name. This time around, the special file name of choice is $MFT. It is the name given to one of the special metadata files that are used by Windows NTFS system. The file exists in the root directory of each NTFS volume, but the NTFS driver handles it in special ways, and it's hidden from view and inaccessible to most software. Attempts to open the file are normally blocked, but in a move reminiscent of the Windows 9X flaw, if the file name is used as if it were a directory name, trying to open the file $MFT\123, then the NTFS driver takes out a lock on the file and never releases it. Every subsequent operation sits around waiting for the lock to be released forever. This blocks any and all other attempts to access the file system, and so every program will start to hang, rendering the machine unusable until it is rebooted. So a reboot will fix it.
Well, MFT is master file table, isn't it?
They're not mentioning it. Who knows? They can call it whatever they want. It may be. But the thing is that I'm wondering, how long did Microsoft know about this? I'm wondering if it's Microsoft that's actually just released this information in order to push more and more people to Windows 10.
Well, it's a case of, this is why we have updates. Updates isn't just for the whim of Microsoft. It's also curing problems.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious that all Windows operating systems before Windows 10 probably got really bad vulnerabilities that Windows 10 has got rid of. Like 8 got rid of vulnerabilities from 7 from Vista. It just goes that way. So the more you stay with the old stuff, the more it's been around and more people have found ways to hack it.
Yeah, and they are more open to this type of vulnerability. Now, if we were still on Windows 7 and 8.1, I'm sure Microsoft would have come out with a solution to this. But
if they can, that's the thing.
But I doubt they're going to be able to now.
See, it might be in a sort of a dead end where they can't do anything. That's why they brought out a new operating system. They changed the way they did things because they found that they couldn't seal the problem.
Yeah. And hopefully this one will prove stronger and better protective of data. Do you remember? Well, this, I don't know that this was was around. No, it must have been around the world, not just here. You guys have Chipotle? A restaurant?
Sorry.
A restaurant. You remember earlier this year, Chipotle announced that their payment processing system was hacked. Last week, the company has released more information about the hack, identifying the malware that was responsible and releasing a new tool to help customers check whether the restaurant they visited was involved. The company did not say how many restaurants were affected, but it did tell The Verge that most locations nationwide may have been involved. So you would need to go to their website if you are a regular customer of the restaurant and see about how about whether or not the store that you went to, if it was or was not. This was a big to-do thing here.
I've not heard of that chain. It's possible it's in London or the big cities. We have a lot of sort of American things there, but it's not around the country. No,
Okay.
I haven't heard of that.
Not one I've heard of.
You have not?
No.
Okay. Well.
But again, see, this is the way trade is done, isn't it? Because taking money is now all part of the point of sale system that's obviously running in the software of whatever point of sale system a company uses. Years
ago, you had a till
exactly.
or a cash register, and nowadays it's all integrated into one screen.
So it's always needed to be instantaneous and fast, and that means connecting to the internet. And away you go. Once you connect to the internet, there's your problem.
We all have a problem then, right?
We do.
Yep.
Yes, of course we do.
Yep.
This will keep happening. They'll keep finding all these things, and they'll keep fixing the bugs, and it'll just keep going that way because we've chosen to be an interconnected world. So it's very easy for these things to actually occur.
British Airways is checking for bugs this weekend.
Yeah, they don't think it was They don't think it was a hack, do they? They don't think it was a virus or anything. It was a genuine failure.
They recently changed the software they were using, and they think it's a bug in the software.
Did you hear about that, Amnon?
No.
British Airways, our main company, flying company, grounded all planes over the start of the holiday period were grounded. People were sleeping in the terminals because their system failed worldwide.
And you heard what caused the system to fail?
Yeah, as Steve said, they recently changed the software. It looks like a genuine bug. It wasn't a hack or a virus. No due diligence.
John says that they say it's a power supply issue, so it was something to do with the power supply.
Yep.
To the system.
Somebody took the power supply out and changed it. Who needed the power supply? It's either you or Steve. Right?
They didn't put 50 pence in a slot.
But I'm just thinking, a power supply issue, that means that all their points, all around the world, power supply issue.
Well, I don't know that that's what it is. It's very possible that the main computer power supply screwed up, messed up the data, and the other terminals around the world that are taking the data from there got screwed up because the data, it's a network.
Yeah, but you hope that they got a backup, don't you?
Yeah, you hope so.
A company the size of British Airways, you'd hope that they'd have completely secondary systems, power, everything.
Well, if they didn't, they probably will now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel sorry for the people that have to sleep in terminals and had their flights cancelled. I mean, you get to the airport and just think, yeah, we're going on holiday. And then, no, you're not. It's everything's grounded. Sorry.
I mean, think about it. How many people at home do you think have an extra power supply for their computer?
Hardly anybody.
Hardly anyone, yeah.
99% don't.
Right.
If you're a bit of a geeky person, like perhaps some of us may be, then yes, you probably have got one
Right.
sat in an old case somewhere.
I mean, a power supply is very cheap. A power supply would go out in a split second. And if you're dependent on your computer for business or even for leisure living, suddenly you lose that and everything is closed. There's nothing you can do.
When you think about it, it's the heart of the machine, really. When people say the CPU is or whatever the graphics card is, but it isn't. It's a power supply. If that goes, everything's dead.
Correct. And if you are in an area that has storms, the power supply is it's very likely that the power supply will go.
Yep.
It will protect the system, but it will go. I mean, the good thing about what's going on these days with wireless is it used to be lightning will more likely come into the computer through the Ethernet connection.
Or the phone line.
The phone line for sure, but that's a long time ago. But yeah, now with wireless, it's you eliminate one of the most likely ways that something can come in. I mean, I've had lightning come in through a printer cable. We're talking about the old Centronics
parallel port.
Yeah. Anything that drapes out of the computer, a wire that is long enough is like a collector. And if the lightning hit is close by, somehow it absorbs it. I remember the joke of putting a knot in the power supply cable.
Yeah, but it's a lot simpler than that, Amnon. It moves through the mains wiring in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way it goes through. That's the main reason it goes, because it's nice thick cables. You know, it can travel everywhere. Doesn't have to be a cable like an Ethernet cable or anything. The power is the biggest problem.
Right. The thing I think that made it very vulnerable on the Ethernet is because the NIC card can get fried a lot faster than the power supply. Or a modem can get fried a lot faster than...
Not much can withstand a lightning strike.
Right.
I've seen what lightning strikes do to electrical equipment.
Yeah.
It's not very good.
To heavy equipment, too.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Talking about lightning strikes, it's 7 kilometers away from me. Just had a rain alarm warning. So if you hear some rumbling in the background and I go silent or disconnect, you know why.
Well, don't go out kite flying.
No, I've packed the kite away. It's under the stairs.
Good.
I said it many times. Since I started with computers back in '83, we used to get hit at least once or twice a year with lightning, and parts would go away, and thank God, homeowners insurance would take care of it. And it got to the point where he said, okay, yep, there's a storm coming. Let's disconnect everything. Then something really bad happened, and they put a cell tower next to us. I mean, it's about maybe 200-300 meters from the house. But the blessing in this was that now, since then, knock on wood, not one lightning hit. And every now and then, when there's the storm, I'd go outside and I mean, I look outside, and you can see that the tower is taking all the hits.
Yeah, the highest point takes
Right.
it.
So that's nice. That's. I always say we have our own lightning rod.
One
And the
good
other
thing
upside.
with
Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
one good thing with communications, though, when you think the more you get fiber in the ground,
Right.
fiber doesn't transport
Correct.
lightning.
Yep.
And the other upside is your cell phone reception is fantastic because you've got a cell tower 300 meters away.
Actually, it is the wrong company, and also I was told that when you're that close to the tower, it's actually bypasses you.
Yeah, it actually goes over your head.
Yep. Yep.
It's a strange effect, the way the waves leave the transmitter.
Yeah.
It's probably going over the top of you. Yeah, I don't.
But I mean, it's fine. It's I guess some people complain about these things, and oh, it looks ugly, and you know.
If it was viewable or seeable, whatever the word is, from your front room window, yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you have to go to the window and look kind of, up and sort of see it. But it's on the wrong side of the house, and you really have to strain to see it.
Because there's a lot of scaremongering, wasn't there? If you lived near a cell mast, you were going to get radiation and all this rubbish.
Well, same as
there's nothing wrong. Isn't it? There's nothing wrong with some like that.
No, well, it hasn't been proven, and there's been cell masts for tens of years, haven't there?
Yep. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. Call us. Let's talk. We can also only talk so much.
Tell us about your experiences this week, or last week, if you want. Yeah.
Oh, one little thing. We're talking about renewable energy. You know, all the super weather we've had here, all this sun and blue sky.
Uh-huh.
There was one day, it was 2 or 3 days ago, 24.8%, which is a quarter really, of the whole country's generated electricity was from photoelectric cells, panels, not from wind or anything else. A quarter of it was being generated by photo cells. Yeah, a quarter of a country's power.
It wasn't that long ago that we had almost 24 hours of power generated by renewable energy. It was they almost managed a full day and night.
Well, there was a whole couple of days where we didn't use any coal. All the coal-powered power stations were shut down, and we were on renewables, which was hydro, wind, and cells, and nuclear, of course. There is a certain amount of nuclear.
And nobody suffered any outages or...
Nope. No, business as usual.
So did they turn the coal back up?
Yes.
Why?
They did, simply because if the wind dropped or the sun went out, they'd have to, wouldn't they? We still use coal in the instances where photoelectric won't work or wind isn't working. This is why they're keen to get tidal power. They're putting a lot of money in tidal power, and Swansea Bay is the first one that's going to be a commercial tidal power station, because the tide comes in and out twice a day, every day. Nothing stops it. So that will be a great source of power if they harness that.
They can stop it from wrecking itself.
Yeah, this is something that will never stop.
That's right. It's the only thing that's constant.
Yeah.
As long as we got oceans.
Yeah, it's very interesting technology.
But I went out the other day and I was in North Wales, and along the coast there must have been out to sea, mile or so out to sea, there was 5 wind farms visible. There must have been close on 1,000 wind turbines out at sea.
Phew.
Yeah. Like I say, they're all over the place here. You see them everywhere.
So it's the UK that's causing the Earth to turn a little bit faster.
Yeah, it slows the winds down. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to it one of these days. Everything is going to be renewable.
Although Stephen Hawkins, did you see that?
No. What did he say?
Well, you know Stephen Hawkins
Yeah.
is, don't you? Yeah. He's predicting, unless man finds another planet to live in 100 years, the human race is doomed.
It's doomed.
It's doomed. And it's not so much environmental. He's pretty certain an asteroid, evidently a large asteroid hit is very overdue.
Oh.
So that's his theory, that there's going to be a chunk of rock comes out of space and kills us all.
Well, you look at all the other planets that are in the solar system, none of them can support life by the looks of it. So who's to say that at one point they didn't, many billions of years ago? Maybe at one point they were like us. And that's what we've got to look forward to.
we know Mars was. Mars had an atmosphere, water, and everything.
Yeah. So that's our future. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Yeah. And a hole in the back garden won't save you.
No, there's no point going to the hut in the back garden. When it happens, it happens.
Yep. It's a good way to go.
Well, at least it'll be quick.
Yep. So, cord cutters are ditching their cable packages at a faster rate ever, opting instead for cheaper, bundled digital TV options, according to the last Majid broadcast study. The trend reflects consumers' preferences to ditch bundled cable packages for more affordable, niche-bound bundled services that can be accessed on TV box tops or on mobile. For consumers, there are more bundled packages than ever, all popping up around similar price range. YouTube TV, Hulu TV launched within the past 2 months, joining the likes of Sling and DirecTV, all at a roughly $40 a month price point. A bargain considering the average American pays $92 a month for cable TV. I am wondering when the providers like Time Warner, Spectrum, Comcast, AT&T, when are they going to come up? And it will happen. And they're going to say, well, you want data, you got data, and we're going to limit you to, we're going to cap you at such and such. And in order to prevent you from watching TV, not through them, but from one of those other services. Or if you get our TV, then you have that much data before it's capped. They can force you into getting TV from them, because if you're watching TV on Hulu or on YouTube TV or any of those, it's data. Even, and I did not think about it until somebody mentioned it here, Roku. You're using data. It's not like when you're watching TV and your data stays intact. In order to use Roku or any of those other set-top boxes, you're using data in order to pull it from somewhere else. So now, if you watch in HD, you're going to use more data, and they have a way, or they have it. They have the capacity to say, okay, you're not getting TV from us. Your data package is going to cost more, and it's going to be capped at something, something that will be reasonable for using data without watching TV anywhere.
But that could only be done in the USA, couldn't it?
The what?
That could only be done in the USA. They couldn't do that here because there's too much competition. There's too many companies you can go to get broadband.
But the thing is that, I mean, there are a bunch of companies here too, Jorvik. Don't misunderstand. But the point is that if you are not getting one service from us and that service pays a lot of our bills, we're going to cap it. Why would another company come and say, oh, you know what, with us, yeah, you don't have to get TV. We'll give you the data for the same amount of money. I don't think they will. They all want to make money.
But the problem with the US is that you haven't got multiple players in multiple areas or regions. You've got AT&T sort of dominates one area, then you've got Comcast who's in another area that dominate that. You haven't got all players in the same area, which is the competition we have over here. You can go with any number of companies, and they're all providing a slightly different service, trying to one up each other.
And they'd gladly take your business from the big companies.
Even if it means that they're going to be, in a way, losing money?
Well, they won't, because they're not providers. They're not providers of services. They're just providers of bandwidth, so it makes no difference to them.
Oh.
That's the difference.
BT own all the lines, and they, if you like, rent them out to all these different companies that then just, manage your bill.
And that's how it works. See, BT owns the national network, so all the lines in the ground, all the lines to the houses are owned by one company. That was then opened. That we have a myriad of smaller companies that will push bandwidth to your house down those lines without providing any other service. All they're doing is giving you bandwidth.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything like that here.
No.
It's
completely different in the US in that respect. It's a bit like I say, you've got certain regions are dominated by one entity, and there isn't a competition. That's why everyone's scared about Google Fiber.
Yeah, it'll be a bit like AT&T and Cable and Wireless saying, right, our telephone exchanges, we're going to open up for competitors to come in, put their equipment to push bandwidth down our lines to your house. And that's what's happened in this country for 20 years now.
Yeah.
The public telephone exchanges are full of private bandwidth companies, equipment in there pushing bandwidth down to people's houses.
Well, I'm with BT now, and I'm getting up to 8 megabytes, but I used to be with Cable and Wireless. I think it was Cable and Wireless. And they, because of the equipment in the exchange, they could give me up to 21 megabytes. It's using the same lines, but they had equipment in the exchange that boosted the signal and allowed me to get much, much better bandwidth. But I've since changed, and I'm with BT now, and I get 8, up to 8. That's true competition.
You can literally choose what you want. They've all got different deals, all got different packages.
So there'll be loads of people moving from America to England now.
Just for that.
Just for that, yeah.
Cheap internet.
I'll go get a couple of reels of Cat 6 And maybe
That's it. Run a cable over here, and I'll plug you into here, and you can use my bandwidth.
Right. So going back to doing things that were never done before, and I wonder if this has anything to do with Trump's trip to the Middle East and Europe last week. Egypt has banned 21 websites, including the main website of Qatar-based Al Jazeera television and prominent local independent news sites Mada Masr, accusing them of supporting terrorism and spreading false news. The blockade is notable in scope and for being the first publicly recognized by the government. It was heavily criticized by journalists and rights groups. The state news agency announced it late on Wednesday. Individual websites had been inaccessible in the past, but there was never any official admission. Reuters found the websites named by local media and were inaccessible. The move followed similar actions taken on Wednesday by Egypt Gulf ally Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, which blocked Al Jazeera and other websites after a dispute with Qatar. So now they can block it. We can't. But here goes these little countries there and say, okay, you're going to support terrorism, we're going to block you. We're not going to allow you to be out there. What?
It was the theme in the G7 summit recently. The G7, the 7 nations.
Nice.
It was one of the main things on the agenda, extremist material on social media and generally all around the world for countries to actually start blocking it.
Yeah.
At source. Yeah.
I mean, they're blocking porn. I don't remember when's the last time porn killed somebody. But they're allowing all these terrorist organizations to recruit and to give instructions and all that kind of stuff. Like it's okay.
Well, again, we're in the battle of anti-terrorism and civil rights, aren't we? Lots of people complain, but is it really, is it something that's got to be done to make us safer?
It has to be done. I mean, it has to be done like this because it is getting out of hand, I think. What are you going to do? I used to love watching Al Jazeera because it's entertaining and you can actually laugh, talk about fake news. But if it causes situations like Manchester and others, no, do away with them. Do away with them as fast as you can. And don't worry about it. You can't, I don't know how it is in England, but you can't stand on a street corner and tell people how to build a bomb. You get arrested. So what's the difference here? A website or a network can...
Yeah, but there is a big difference. You can stand on the street corner in America and talk about extremist things and, support all sorts of organizations and say you're supporting them, where you can't in this country.
I don't think that you could stand on a street corner and talk about ISIS and say, "Come here to join."
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there are things that are very restricted here. You know, things the freedom of speech is completely different in the two countries. Here, if freedom of speech actually harms a person, you know, is brutal, is bullying, you know, all this sort of thing, then that is illegal. Whereas, you know, in America, I think you're allowed to say a lot more than you should be saying.
Yeah, I mean, John in the chat is saying you are not allowed to incite violence, but they do it on those networks, on Facebook, Twitter, Al Jazeera. Oh boy. I mean, it's. I really think that the only people that are really believing what they hear on Al Jazeera is just because they want to believe it. I remember growing up, we used to listen to Egypt's radio, and they would say things that really, I mean, you know, I mean, even as a kid, you say, what are they talking about? And some of their people would go for it. So it's, and especially during wars, oh, our forces are marching on Tel Aviv. Jeez. Really? But I'm sure that there are people who want to believe that kind of stuff. And in social networks days like ours here, they have an outlet which they never had before. I mean, it's not easy to build a TV station or a radio station back in 50s and 60s and spew your propaganda. Now, all these little groups, all they have to do is have a website.
Yeah, internet radio.
Yeah. So, yeah, they can.
Charles put something in there about Wi-Fi protocols changing. Nothing will really change the vulnerability of wireless. The problem is wireless has a load of inherent problems that they'll never fix. And one of the biggest problems is a lot of people using it and interference and all this sort of thing. You'll still find a direct link is better than wireless, even in the future. They'll never cure that.
I don't think they will kill it, but it will, if it's done right and denser. I mean, look at cell phones. Cell phones is available everywhere. Yes, every now and then you get into an area where you may drop. But if it was a little, because they're not building towers as close to each other as, maybe I shouldn't use the word, the correct way, because they're trying to save money or because of regulations. But if you can do the Wi-Fi the way that it is, I mean, there are many downtown areas in cities that do have Wi-Fi, and for that you don't need to have strong and towers and things like that. You just have to have rooftop stuff that on every building. Then it's everywhere. And it can spread. So from that point of view, I would think that it could be. Why do you think it's not going to be possible? Or no, you didn't say that it's not going to be possible, Jorvik. You said that the wires will never be done away with.
Wires are the only 100% way of guaranteeing bandwidth and service. Wireless is not.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it will take some really good technology to make wireless as secure and basically as reliable. Too many things affect wireless, and it will never be the system. More systems will go over to it, yeah, because as you quite rightly say, smartphones are using it all the time. But
I mean, look at some of the routers from and the services like Comcast and others that actually have part of the bandwidth allocated to public Wi-Fi. So if they give you the router, if you're getting their router, it's already made to give you your network and your bandwidth, but at the same time, you're like a cell within their network that is transmitting to the public, to the general public.
Yeah, that is done. But all I'm saying is, it works to a point. That's the best way of describing it. Wireless works to a point. When it passes that point, and it could be congestion, it could be interference, then it's not so good. That's the problem with wireless.
Yeah. I would think that just like Charles says, it for home wired all the way. Absolutely. First of all, you want to have security. You don't want to be on a network with everybody else on it. Although even when you wired, once it gets out of the house and go down to a corner and travels more, I mean, there are more and more people hitchhiking there. There's traffic that just jumps in and say, "Oh yeah, I need to go over there," and it's possible.
Yeah. There's limits, of course, but
Yeah.
like I say, you can put bigger limits,
Right?
on certainly fiber, and not have external influences affecting the signal.
That. Yeah, with fiber, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, look at it. Look at this with video, which a lot of us are doing these days. Wireless is really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sit right next to your router. I'm talking about guests that are coming in here.
Yes.
And it's still bad.
Yeah. It's because of the influences on wireless.
Yeah.
It's all sorts of
Right.
things.
Right. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. Charles, call in and let's discuss this on the air, because this is something that a lot of people would like to know about, and I think, I mean, it's a good subject to talk about. We're trying to come up with better and better and better ways of wireless, but unfortunately, it's all kind of allocations and licenses for these. So it's not happening as fast as we'd like to.
Because I'm sort of a bit of a network purist, I reluctantly have to use wireless because I've got certain devices that will only work on wireless.
Yeah, but I mean,
so like it or lump it, I've got to have a wireless network in the house.
I can attest to one thing. We talk during the week, sometimes on a peer, Steve and Jorvik and some other people. And Jorvik likes to drive around. And he goes to very interesting places. And he always has the phone transmitting the video from the car. So it's nice that, first of all, he's got unlimited. And the quality is great. So people can do it.
Yeah, but I'm in a very rural area, I'm not in an urban area, so that's where it's different. See, so
yeah, that makes a big difference too.
Not so many people using it,
right?
Which is one of the main reasons.
It's there are a lot of things that you can do with it in certain areas, like you said. Yeah, if you were in London, you may have not been able to do this because you get trampled by stronger signals, by interference, by not enough bandwidth, and so forth. You're right.
But the good thing about digital is that you don't need much transmission power to send it out. I suppose that's a good thing.
Yeah, you don't need
it's a very economic way of sending bandwidth.
Yeah, but here we're limited. If you want unlimited, you have to pay extra, big time.
I think the biggest problem, if you're in a probably, some places won't be like this, but a lot of places where you've got a lot of houses in a very small space, if they've all got Wi-Fi, then effectively each one is affecting the service on the next. It's a surprising amount of effects that has just by having several routers or routers, as you call them, sort of operating in a restricted area.
Yeah,
I know you can change the frequency. A lot of people wouldn't know how to do that, but you can change the frequency your wireless works on. It's a setting in the router.
Most people just take it out and use it.
Run flat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems nobody loves their cable TV or home internet provider wireless carriers. However, they're on the upswing. That's news come from huge annual survey of 43 industries from the American Customer Satisfaction Index. In 2017, cable operators and ISP tied for last place with an average customer satisfaction rating of just 64%. The wireless industry was still near the bottom of the ranking in 38th place, just below the U.S. postal system. That's bad. But its 70% score was up almost 3% points from last year. Many of the same companies like Comcast and Verizon dominate both fields. ACSI noted, and neither industry offer much choice to consumers, with most localities having only one or two cable and internet providers. The cable industry rating slipped 1.5 percentage point from last year, while the rating for ISP was unchanged. So we hear complaints and complaints and complaints and complaints, but it's still going up. I mean, we hear about cord cutters, but still, it's their services kind of hover in place or drop a little bit or even going up a little bit. It's a weird picture. I would have thought that cable TV is down and down and down every year. But apparently it's not. Wireless industry was in 38th place, just below the U.S. postal system. Yeah, we don't think much about our postal service. And
ours isn't much better. Used to be very good, but not these days.
That's what happens with privatization. You privatize it and it's all for profit, and workmanship goes down the tubes.
We used to get 2 posts a day. I can remember. You used to get a morning post and an afternoon post.
And now? Three a week.
One a day. It's still one a day, and generally
mail is coming.
Yeah, generally first class mail does arrive the next working day, which is pretty good. But lots of stuff goes missing in the post and things like that these days.
Yeah. I should work for the post office because I go to the mailbox twice a day. Once to pick up the mail and later on to put back the stuff that doesn't belong to me. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, for years and years, it never happened. You always got just your mail. In the last year or two, it's amazing how many times a week I get stuff that belongs to neighbors down the street, people that, how did it even end up in our area?
Lazy postman.
I'm telling you, but I thought machines sort them and put them,
It still gets put in a bag that the person has to sort of decide which property it goes to. And if he's in a bad mood, he'll throw it all through the same letterbox.
Oh, by the way, no, they don't have it in a bag. It's in a box right beside the steering wheel over here. I don't know that they must have still postmen that walk around.
Yeah, most of the post here is actually on foot.
Yeah. And let's see what else we have. Now, that's for a lot of people that are on the internet and doing their websites or doing more than just surfing around. FTP, File Transfer Protocol, is how you upload and download files from the internet, from your website, from places that people leave you big files because they can't email it. And I'm not talking about Dropbox and things like that.
And has been for many years.
Yep. Following years of criticism and user requests, the FileZilla, which a lot of people are using, FTP client is finally adding support for a master password that will act as a key for storing FTP login credentials in an encrypted format. That comes from Bleeping Computer. This feature is scheduled to arrive in FileZilla 3.26, but you can use it now if you download the 3.26 unstable release candidate from their site. By encrypting its saved FTP logins, FileZilla will finally thwart malware that scrapes the site manager.xml and steals FTP credentials, which were previously stored in plain text. The move is extremely surprising, at least for the FileZilla user base. Users have been requesting this feature for a decade. Now, mind you, this is a free piece of software. Since 2007, and they have asked it many and many times since then. All their requests are falling on deaf ears and met with a refusal from FileZilla maintainer Tim Koss. In November 2016, a user frustrated with Koss's stance forked the FileZilla FTP client and added support for a master password via a spin-off app called FileZilla Secure. So now that they saw that somebody did it, and a lot of people are going with this, say, oh, well, let's build it in. And what they're talking about is very true that I experienced myself. I don't remember how many years it was, probably in late 90s. I used to use Qt FTP. And I remember one day that I saw my antivirus saying, something is happening on your computer and we are trying to stop it or something like this. and I saw it spinning, and I went and reached and disconnected the Ethernet. But in that short period of time, there was like, it seemed like forever, but it was probably just 5 seconds. Somebody or that malware grabbed a hold of the Qt FTP file manager. And being an ISP, I was maintaining a lot of websites. I right away started seeing things happening on the server where there were different sources connecting. So we shut down the service and I changed everybody's passwords. Everything that was in the file manager, even though apparently they didn't get the whole thing somehow. I don't know, because some were not untouched. And had to notify all the administrators of these websites that the password is changed. There was no damage because it, when you sit on it and you're aware of it, you know what to do right away. But yeah, if FileZilla was still storing it in unencrypted format, oh boy. It seems like that malware that I got back then knew exactly where to go and get a file that is unencrypted. Qt FTP apparently after that fixed it and started encrypting, but I already moved away to a commercial software, Core FTP. That is, you can have even the free one is encrypted, but I got the one that you pay for, and it's much nicer. But yeah, that's really bad. Malware knows where to go and what files to grab to get the most out of it. And back then, there was no botnets that right away hundreds of thousands of systems are given the credentials so they can start attacking from all over. Back then, it was just that one computer, one person that was giving that, and they were trying to do it. And even though afterwards you start seeing it coming from different IP addresses, you knew that today when you think about it, you say, yeah, it's not as bad as it would have been today. Today I would have had to shut down the server, and who knows what would have happened in 5 seconds, an hour. So FileZilla users, and I know there's a lot of you out there. Either download the 3.26 unstable. I mean, if they make it so it's available, it's okay. Or you can also get the app called FileZilla Secure, which has been around for some time. All right. I'm fresh out of stories.
Yeah.
I read something this week that Amazon in the UK are going to be adding something similar. I won't say it's the same as, but similar to a la carte programming for streaming.
Yeah.
Instead of like when you're with Sky or with a cable provider, you pay and you get the movie package, and then that also includes this, and this, and this. I read this week that Amazon UK are going to allow you to choose which channels you want to stream, and then pay like £1.49 for that channel and £1.49 for that channel. So it sounds like it's going to be a la carte, which is what you want, how you want it, and where you want it, which is interesting. If that's going to go ahead, that's going to knock Sky out the park completely.
And that's a good thing.
Absolutely, yeah. That's going to be great competition, because at the moment with Sky, you've got to pay a movie package fee every month, and that could be 20, 30, 40 pounds. You've got sports, and you've got lots of ancillary ones that come within that package. But it seems to be that what people want is to say, I want this channel, and this channel. How much is that going to cost? Forget all the other ones. I don't watch any of those, and I'm not interested in those. That seems to be the way forward, but everyone's scared to do it because the channels that no one was going to want will just go to the wall.
Yep.
So interesting to see how that plays out.
And you're going to go for any of these?
Probably not. I mean, I've got Prime, and I can watch. I haven't looked at Prime for weeks and weeks and weeks, but I don't know. I'll see what's available. It could be that there's some sort of kind of geeky or gadget channel that might be interesting, or technology channel that for £1.49, I'd be quite happy to pay a month.
Mm-hmm. All right. Keep us posted.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, and if nobody is calling in, 919-518-9773 or Computers 2K Voice on Skype, we can end a little bit early. It has been kind of slow. Everybody's, over here and even over there, it's a holiday, right?
Holiday weekend, yeah.
Yeah, we have a holiday weekend.
Here too. So a lot of people are traveling. A lot of people went to the beach, and they're not into this. So no reason to labor. And yep. Charles, happy Memorial Day to Charles is saying, happy Memorial Day. Let's remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice for freedom in the world. Anniversary of D-Day very soon, and we should never forget those veterans. Yep. I agree. A lot of the kids today and a lot of adults don't realize that Memorial Day is really for that purpose. It's not just for barbecues and going to the beach. All right, guys. That's here in the States.
Yeah.
Yours is a different holiday, right?
Ours is November Remembrance Sunday. Yes, it's a day in November.
No, I mean this weekend. What is the holiday?
It's religious, Whitsun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an old religious holiday. Goes back long before the war. But like I say, our Memorial Day is Remembrance Day, which is in November.
Yeah, that's Veterans Day here.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay.
We could fill up the next 20 minutes doing this.
Oh.
Have a good week.
You too. I'll try and catch you this week. I've been a few times. There was nobody there. But
nice weather, you see. People are going out more.
Yeah, it's okay. So, Jorvik, Mike, again, Steve, thank you. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tomorrow, there's no Breaking Free, but there is the Gisela show is coming up tomorrow at 5. Change of time. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. See ya.
You're tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.